Thank you. Thank you very much. So first of all, good morning to all of you from Paris, where I am unfortunately stuck. And my warmest thanks to Amalia Descalzo for the very kind invitation to be with you today. So this lecture will offer you a summary of some research assumptions developed in recent years as publication and exhibition opportunities arose. These assumptions have been inspired by crossings data as denomination, clothing, archives, and iconography. And also, I have to confess a keen desire to understand better information that for years was bothering me because of what I felt because of confusions or contradictions. So I will go straight to the point and we'll discuss the cases of the robe volante, of the male vest or jacket versus gilet or waistcoat, and the polonaise. And I'm very sorry because this research is based on a lot of French names. So let's go first to the robe volante. In the press periodical Mercure Galant, we found the name robe de chambre. So this is not the robe volante, but we will come to the story of the robe volante. So we found first the name robe de chambre for women in the last quarter of the 17th century. And as you can see in these two quotations from January 1679 and September 1693, they're said to be magnificent or sloppy. And they also said that, you know, that it is also talking about a woman, a noble woman in a déshabillé, and she would have been a robe de chambre hanging without any belt. And we can assume that at this point, a robe de chambre could be a dressing gown. And we see here on this portrait, which is very interesting, that the wife of the painter, Madame de Troyes, is wearing a robe de chambre, which is quite loose and quite comfortable, and chiefly she is inside her home. In his Dictionnaire universel of 1690, Antoine Furetière states that a robe de chambre is an inside garment. But 50 years later, in 1740, the Dictionnaire de l'Académie is considering that robe de chambre can be used inside as outside. So women can go outside with in robe de chambre. And indeed, in the first half of the 18th century, the use of the robe de chambre dressing gown is spreading at the court of Versailles for circumstances that did not involve the great ceremonial. For instance, in 1749, the Queen Marie Leczinska asked the king the allowance to attend the mass at Versailles Chapel in robe de chambre when he is not there. And she is justifying asking for authorization, saying that she has yet got the same authorization when she attends theater without her royal husband, when he is absent. And in the same times, the Queen Marie Leczinska and her ladies took the use to leave Versailles for their other residence, like for instance, the Château de Marly Castle. And when they go to Marly, from the day before they will leave Versailles, they have the possibility to live in a robe de chambre and then to stay in robe de chambre when they are in Marly. So at this point, I was used to call that kind of dress, which is preserved in our collection in Palais Galliera, as a robe volante. By then, I evolved and I thought, well, I can also call this dress a robe de chambre. So we are used to see this kind of robe de chambre, of course, in paintings. Some very often paintings, you know, alluding to theatrical plays, or paintings alluding to gallant affairs, as all the paintings of the painter of the genre painting of the Jean-François de Troyes. But then what about the expression robe volante? Well, it appeared to be used in the text mainly about the 1725, 1730s. And we have in mind this well-known quotation from the Mercure de France of January 1st, 1729, saying that the robes volantes are universally reigning. The assumption then is that this French expression is an oral testimony of a short moment where French fashion has offered the ladies a choice between two kinds of dress. A dress robe de chambre with a floating skirt, robe volante. Volante means to fly, like floating skirt. Said also in some text robe abattue, and a dress with a rolled up skirt, which is named in England mantua. And we all have in mind this kind of mantua preserved in the Costume Institute in New York. Indeed, there is a text which is a satire. It is a satire against mockery against the ladies who are wearing manteau volant, so who are wearing, you know, dresses which are above hoops or cerceaux or criardes. Criardes are same are hoops but made with straw, and they are making noise, and they are mostly used for the theater. And this satire is a kind of poetry, and it is opposing the lady at the moment. It is opposing the lady who are wearing manteau volant, so floating manteau dress with floating skirt, or dress with an ambiguous rolled up skirt. And we can see here on this engraving from Antoine Hérisset of 1729 that there is a lady in a robe with a floating skirt and another lady in a manteau. And indeed, there is a kind of a remnant of a rolled up textiles at the level of her waist. In conclusion, the conclusion of this very quick point, the expression robe volante is an historical expression used in the 1725-1730 French texts in a peculiar way, probably to distinguish the robe de chambre or the robe with a floating skirt from the ones with a rolled up one. As there is no mantua preserved in the French public costumes collection, and very rare French representations of it, we can suppose that this kind of dress has not been successful in France. But thanks to the expression of robe volante, and thanks to this rare portrait, we know for sure that the mantua has been worn in France in the first decade of the 18th century, but much less in England, and the why is another story. So let's go now to the point of the vest or jacket versus gilet or waistcoat. The history of the name vest and gilet for men still remains obscure. If handwritten sources, particularly from suppliers, most often mentions vest, memoirs and chronicles, printed ones, such as the one of the Baroness Oberkirch, mentions the term gilet. For instance, this quotation is well known in a memoir in 1787. She is stating that it was really fashionable for men to have dozens of waistcoats, of gilets, in the wardrobe, even hundreds of gilets, if you wanted to be considered as fashionable. A certain oral tradition in French fashion museums reserves the term vest or jacket for the first half of the 18th century and gilet or waistcoat for the second half of the century. And it is said too, you know, this oral tradition in French museums said that a vest had sleeves, unlike the gilet. Antoine Furetière, again, in his Dictionnaire universel in 1690, is saying that a vest is a kind of juste au corps, a kind of coat, you know, so it means that a vest would have the shape of a juste au corps. But is precising that in France, the men are wearing light vest under the juste au corps, so under the coat. So the vest is an undergarment. In 1771, the 5th edition of the Dictionnaire universel de français et de latin, au Dictionnaire de Trévoux, is repeating Furetière. even, you know, using the same words. En France, in France, we are wearing light vest, des vestes légères, so the light jackets under the juste au corps. So it is still an undergarment. In during the 18th century, the Lyonnese silk manufacturers are using very often the term vest, and even most often the generic term vest or jacket in their invoices or account books or letters, as you can see here with these three bills and letter, which are dated on 1752, 1753, and 1774. In Madame du Barry accounts, we can observe that probably Louis XV has a kind of passion for the vest or the jacket, and she's offering royal gallant hundreds and hundreds of vests, and they are delivered by silk dealers, and there is always, the use is always this name, vest, and we are here in the 1770s. In his Art du Tailleur in 1769, François-Alexandre de Garceau is using the term veste when he lists a total male outfit, the habit à la française, which is composed, he said, of a juste au corps or a coat, a vest or a jacket, and culotte or breeches, and the vest has sleeves. And in the same page, he talks about le gilet, and he says that le gilet would derive from the camisole. La camisole is another vest, an undergarment, and we can have camisole with sleeves or camisole without sleeves, and when it is without sleeves, then it will be named a waistcoat, a gilet. Here you can observe the similarity between these two garments. The camisole is a woman camisole, and the use of the name is very frequent for the collection of this kind of garment, which was worn just above the shirt in Provence, in the east-south of France. And you can see that there is, and this camisole is the property of the Musée du Costume et du Bijou Fragonard. And you can see that there is also a similarity because as the waistcoat, this camisole is embroidered to shape on white silk satin. And we know that most of the waistcoats of the 1775 onwards are embroidered to shape on the white silk tabby or white silk satin. So here the conclusion could be that the gilet might derive from the camisole. The gilet would name a sleeveless garment, which confirms the Royal Museum tradition. The question is, how and from when can we explain the extraordinary success of the gilet in the second half of the 18th century? Maybe the gilet has been perceived at the time much more as a fashion novelty, as a nouveauté, as we are used to think. And maybe also the gilet has expressed subtleties that has not been explored till now, as clearly in the portrait of this wonderful man, where we can observe that there is obviously an erotic shade. Now we go to the Polonaise and the new assumption, and you all identify this kind of fashionable dress of the 1770s with the skirt, which is not really rolled up, but it's rolled up with buttons or strings, which are either outside the dress or outside the skirt or inside the skirt. As we all know, the traditional bibliography attributes the origin of the name robe à la polonaise to the partition of Poland between Austria, Russia, and Prussia in February 1772. But we have in Galliera papers from Madame Bercy de Conflans, who was a noble woman. And we can see here on one of these papers that her milliner, a marchand de mode, Boutré, is delivering her a polonaise in 1744. And it is said the polonaise d'étoffe d'Hollande, fond blanc, brochet, blah, blah, for 60 pounds. Moreover, we can find in a 1763 military regulation the expression retroussi, rolled up, à la polonaise. For you can see the coat of the Légion de Flandre, Légion du Hainaut, and Légion de Conflans. What is a retroussi? This is a retroussi. The retroussi is naming the side of the coat which are rolled up and fixed to free the legs when walking or when riding. But also in the fashion engravings of the 1770s, we know this kind of coat, male coat, which are ornamented with trimmings, and we suppose that it is probably because of these trimmings that these coats are named habit à la polonaise or frac à la polonaise. On this Madame de Bercy's bill, still in Galliera in our paper, we can see that Madame de Bercy has been delivered by another milliner called Pat in 1742, a polonaise de campagne d'or for 42 pounds. And we know for sure from Furetière Dictionary that the campagne is a peculiar kind of trimming. In the Comtesse d'Artois papers, we can observe, delivered by the famous milliner Mademoiselle Bertin in 1779, some polonaise, as you can see here, designated, pointed by my blue arrows. But what is sold and what is listed are white silk trimmings, tassels, chain, and polonaise. In April 1779, Mademoiselle Bertin is delivering 8 glands or tassels, 6 polonaises, and 8 lengths of chain, of chaînette or chain. And it is said, en soie blanche travaillée. It means in a white worked silk, and this is for a circassienne. In May 1779, she is delivering 12 polonaises, 6 tassels, and 5 lengths of chaînette or chain in white worked silk for a robe à la polonaise. In July 1779, again, 8 tassels, 16 polonaises, and 5 lengths of chaînette en soie blanche travaillée for a circassienne. So I come to the conclusion, which is that then polonaise dresses were worn before the partition of Holland and in the first half of the 18th century, that some military coats had their sides rolled up à la polonaise. And why? This has to be explored, with specialized colleagues specialized in the military uniform. And we can suppose that maybe there could be a link with the Queen Marie Leczinska of Polish origin, or with her father Stanislas, who indeed ruled the French military regiment from 1725 to 1737. Plus, we have archives stating that the polonaise is a kind of silk trimming, and it looks like polonaise were delivered by milliners. So could we suppose that the polonaise dress at its origin would have mixed two features, rolled up skirt and a kind of trimming, but of course we don't know from the papers that if the polonaise delivered in the first half of the 18th century had indeed a rolled up skirt and with in three parts. So but we could think that maybe the polonaise dress has a rolled up skirt and or a kind of trimming, and maybe the name would have become a kind of a generic denomination, and this in the third of the 18th century. And also, this is to be explored, were polonaise supplied by milliners mainly or by seamstresses too. So the conclusion is let's go on researching, and thank you.